Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Woman Fully Alive podcast. I'm your host, Madeline Eames. And today, what I want to dive into is one of the most difficult phases of moving into your own expansion at midlife. And this is the phase where, I kind of picture you hanging on to one trapeze for a long time and holding really, really, really tightly, trying to keep it all together, trying to stop things from falling apart, such as friendships, relationships, jobs, kids. We start to let go of that trapeze, and we're in the void before the next trapeze appears. So this void in the middle is where so many of the women that I work with get stuck, and they get scared. Will I ever have another group of friends? Am I going to be alone forever? So there's this void, and it can really feel like a free fall. And sometimes, our mind starts saying everything's falling apart. I'm going to fall apart. I'm losing it. I'm going crazy. Is this real? All these things I hear. And what it is you are in the void. Because when we have been living in patterns such as fawning or people pleasing or perfectionism, getting it right, working hard, even working your tail off, becoming burnt out. When we've been stuck in patterns like that are based in fear, those are old patterns. And when we can no longer or don't want to any longer be there, and we start shifting and changing, not everybody is coming with you. And this is one of the hardest lessons to learn. And this is where you really need a supportive friend or a community around you. Because if you've been living in your old world, you've been surrounded by people that somehow benefited or resonated with you on that level. So maybe you were always the one that people could call up and you'd be right there because you're such a good friend and you're very loyal. I used to pride myself on being a loyal Leo, that I kept my friends throughout my whole life, and I've kept many of them. But keeping all your friends is not a great idea, because if you have not, if you haven't rubbed up against someone or lost a friend in your life, I can guarantee you that you're not being yourself, because you can't please all the people all the time. And that's not what you're here for. That's like not your reason or your purpose for your life. Unless you're going through a period of time where you get some good feedback for that and you like to be needed. Nothing wrong with that. But not to be needed until you're basically pushed into the ground because you're so tired you can't lift your head up anymore. That's not why you're here. So when we start to break out of these old patterns, it can be really scary. And here's why. You're letting go of your childhood. You're letting go of the way that you have learned to cope. And you've survived. But now you don't want to live in survival anymore, because it'll literally kill you. You can't live in anxiety and fear anymore, because it will literally rob you of your life. So when we start to let go of these old ways of holding on as young children, as adolescents, as young women, as perhaps partners or friends, we not only let go of a part of ourselves that we say goodbye to, that has served us well. Your good girl patterns have served you well. Your survivor patterns have gotten you through a lot of tough stuff, haven't they? And so it can be like saying goodbye to an old friend. It's like when someone gives up drinking, and this might be part of your path too. It's giving up part of you that a part that was supportive of you, that was there for you. You know, the bottle was always there for you when you were lonely. The bottle was there for you when you had social anxiety. And when you start to leave that bottle behind, that social anxiety comes up because it's ready to be moved through. You're ready, you're safe enough now to move through those emotions that pattern was burying. So if I'm stuck in a people-pleasing mode, overgiving, because when I'm not people-pleasing, I feel anxious, I feel alone, I feel guilty. When I say no, I can't set boundaries because of the guilt. When I start giving up that pattern, you're darn right, I'm going to feel guilty. And that's okay. That's what should happen because the emotions are there anyway in your body. And the pattern is just protecting you from them because maybe you're not ready to feel and process them yet. And that'll be for another episode down the line. But for now, know that you're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel fear. Doesn't mean anything about who you are other than you are healing. This is such an important part of our expansion that not many people know because we've been so trained that when we feel anxious or afraid or guilty or ashamed, that there is something wrong and that we need to fix it, we need to get rid of it, and it's not okay. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is okay because whatever is being brought up to the surface is ready to be felt and released. Biggest secret ever. But this will turn everything on its head because when those emotions start coming up, we can have tools and processes to be able to feel and release and welcome and receive and feel and release. And that is a beautiful process. So when you're letting go of the old and perhaps the new hasn't arrived yet, just remember things can shift very quickly. You don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. You don't even know what the end of today will look like. You don't know who's waiting to meet you. You don't know who's around the corner waiting to just be a client or a friend or a neighbor. There's so much beyond the known, and the unknown is the place where everything gets manifested, everything new gets created, and that is a very exciting place. Now, when you are in that place, and it can really feel like a dark night of the soul because you don't know, you don't have anything to hang on to. It is like falling through a tunnel and you're grasping onto the sides and nothing seems to be very solid anymore. Just know that that can be a magical place because something bigger is coming for you. And it's far bigger than you could probably imagine. And it's definitely bigger than what you have been doing. And that is the divine feminine expansion. You're moving into a field, the quantum field, where everything is possible if we don't try to control it, if we don't try to predict the outcome, and if we can let go of expectations. Now, this doesn't mean we let go of dreams and desires. That's very different. That's a different energy. But you might start while you are in the void and you're feeling afraid and all these feelings are coming up. I would really encourage you to start journaling, to start some kind of process where you can start to actually facilitate it coming out of your body. And journaling is a perfect practice to use. Go to things that feel good for you. Make self-care the highest priority and make peace in your body the ultimate goal for living. And if that might feel very unusual if you've never done it before. That might feel very awkward. It might feel selfish, but all that is lies. It's all programming to stop you from your own expansion. So journal into your dreams and desires. Journal what is coming up for you right now, and facilitate that process of getting it out of you so that you don't close up in the very time that you need to open. One of the greatest challenges that we have in this life is staying open in the extremes, staying open and awake to our life during the difficult times. Every part of our body, like that amoeba, wants to contract and protect. So protection might feel very different than self-care. And you can feel into that. So move towards, rather than hardening up, armoring up, soldiering up, canceling people out, move into self-care. What feels best in my body right now during this difficult time? Bring in self-compassion. And you might say to yourself or journal, I'm having a hard time right now. This is hard. This is difficult for me to navigate. Just acknowledge it. Too often we have learned to not reach out, to not put a voice to our inner experience. And this is going to shift everything. When you just start acknowledging, this is really hard for me right now. That's not a victim mentality. A victim mentality is, I'm never going to get out of here. Oh, poor me. I'll never be able to do this. And sometimes we feel that, right? Don't we? Sometimes we truly feel like, oh my goodness, the world is just like out to get me. It's okay. But then move from that to, wow, my heart feels really broken. I feel really sad right now. I feel afraid right now. I feel guilty because I'm breaking old patterns. Acknowledge those things. And, if that was the only thing that you ever got from this podcast, that would be the most important thing. To acknowledge your own inner experience and to believe it from moment to moment to moment. And bringing yourself back in from the outside world that tells you that you should be something or you should feel something different than you are. That is the bypassing, the gaslighting that we've done to ourselves. And, I say done to ourselves, but I will also say that this is how our society has impacted us. So I haven't met a woman, and myself included, and I've done major gaslighting on myself to the point where I didn't even know that I had an inner life or who I was. And the journey back to your life is the journey back through yourself, through your emotions, through your body, and that is your truth. And that is the beautiful part about coming back home to yourself. And again, I want to go back for a minute. During the void, when we're challenged the most, that's when it's most challenging to stay open. But you can do it. You can do it. And, take lots of naps, do what you need to do, give yourself a nice bath, journal, and stay present to your beautiful self in the void. And know that staying present will bring you gifts, people, experiences, little insights. Staying open to, I have to go to the mailbox right now. It might take you to the mailbox and you meet someone there and have a conversation that ignites something inside of you. You might have little insights, little nudges to go places, to call someone, to look something up. That's where staying open in the void can take you. Because that's where those little clues, those little breadcrumbs that will lead you down a path towards yourself, your inner purpose, your inner expansion will take you. So notice, that's why it's so important to notice our emotions and notice how we feel in our body, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Simple as that. Oh, this feels good. I'm going to move towards it. Even though I'm scared, even though I feel like I'm free falling. Oh, this really tasted good. I think I'm going to go and buy some of that. And you go to the store and perhaps you run into someone or something along the way. You hear something on the radio and it grabs your attention. You go, oh, okay. Those are the messages of your soul that you will receive through your expansion. So stay open during the void, recognize the void, know that it's not going to be like that forever, and keep going. Stay awake and stay open with tons and tons of self-care. So I hope this episode has been helpful for you, and reach out anytime, leave a comment. I love to hear how these things land on you, my audience. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit like, subscribe to my channel. And if you're on Spotify or other platforms, you can leave me a review. Tell me what resonated for you, and I'll make more of that. I'm so glad you're here joining me on this journey in your own expansion at midlife. See you in the next episode.